Hello and welcome to the virtual edition of our year-round screening series, Film Independent Presents, and this Q&A for the HBO documentary, There Is No I in Threesome. I'm Jen Wilson, Senior Programmer with Film Independent. Before we get started, I have to give some praise to our supporters. Thank you to our incredible lead sponsor, the Hollywood Foreign Press Association, and our screening partners, Vision Media. And now please welcome today's guests from the documentary There Is No I in Threesome. Joining us from New Zealand, writer-director Jan Oliver Lux and writer Natalie Medlock. Welcome.
Hello, Jen.
Kia ora.
Did I get all that information correct? You are in New Zealand, right?
Yeah,
We are
Auckland.
Yes, Auckland, New Zealand.
And we're also being joined by Flick the dog.
Yes, we'll see how she goes.
I didn't write any questions for Flick, but if I come up with something,
She's got an intense personality, so I'm pretty sure I can speak for her.
Maybe to do with what are Flick's favorite treats.
She likes an apple core.
What?
Yeah,
Apple core?
Tea with sugar in it is a big one.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And then just regular dog treats. Yeah.
That's pretty interesting. Apple core is pretty interesting.
Good bone, so obviously.
Because Film Independent is a membership organization that includes, anybody can join, but we have a lot of filmmakers and aspiring filmmakers. I usually start with the question of your filmmaking origin story. So Ollie, do you want to start out just telling us how you came to filmmaking, how you became a filmmaker?
Yes. Okay, so
This is the German kicking in.
I was in Germany. No, I grew up in Germany. I did a apprenticeship, a job I hated in an office, and did that for 3 years and decided I don't want to do it for the rest of my life. And was like, what would I rather do? And that was study film in New Zealand. So I moved to New Zealand in 2005 and did my bachelor and master's.
I didn't know this.
In Dunedin on the South Island of New Zealand in filmmaking. And yeah, that was finished in 2010, and then been making short films of various sorts, always sort of with a documentary edge, blurring the lines a little bit between documentary and fiction. And yeah, obviously we started, I don't know how much I should go into this project, but then the documentary process for this project started in 2015 with my ex-partner, and I'm sure we get more.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Yeah.
Why New Zealand in particular?
Yeah.
Oh,
but it is like awesome.
Yeah. Oh, this is okay. If I wasn't German enough already. So it was because of Lord of the Rings, but it wasn't just the films. It was the behind the scenes.
I do know this.
It was the behind the scenes documentaries and formative years being obsessed with Lord of the Rings, watching the behind the scenes documentaries, and the sense of camaraderie, perhaps even family, that you get from watching the documentaries, working towards the same goal. I don't know, it was just super appealing to me, having grown up as a single child. And my mum was a great mum, but she had to work to raise me by herself. So seeing that, I don't know, there was this something that drew me to New Zealand to try to be part of a sort of adopted family in that sense, and devote myself to filmmaking. Yeah, so Lord of the Rings in short, but there's a bit more to it.
Cute.
That's awesome. That's my mother's favorite film series.
Oh, right.
She's seen it hundreds of times. It's an incredible film series. I love it too. Natalie, for you, what's your filmmaking origin story?
I trained as an actor in the National Drama School, Toi Whakaari, and we did a lot of emphasis there on making work. So when I got out of like the prison. I love Toi Whakaari. I was very like, we're not going to work. There's no work, guys. What do you think is going to happen? So I started making theatre and then got a tiny name for myself. And then I was cast in New Zealand's soap opera So I did some diabolical acting for a year, and then I managed to get on the Shortland Street story learning table. So then a bunch of, not so great. I wrote a lot of terrible things, according to the house style of each project. And then I started doing film, and I've got quite a few projects in development with Film Commission, and met Ollie, and there's gaps in that. But yeah, so now I write, act, and direct. Yeah.
Boom.
Okay, let's, if we can, if it's okay with Flick, we're gonna seek into some polyamory talk.
Oh.
I am not really an overtly sexual dog. I've never been witnessed humping. Let's put it that way. Huh.
Right. Yep. Bring it on. We can do it.
All right. So let's talk about the origin story of this project. There is no I in threesome.
Okay.
Ollie, do you want to start?
Sure. So my ex-fiance and I started going into an open relationship, and then at one point I realized that we were sort of the only ones in our group of friends, in our circle of friends, that did that. And I floated the idea of, pointing our phones towards us while we're doing it, and making a documentary about it. This was 2015. I feel like there weren't quite as many projects out there about polyamory and open relationships. And yeah, and then we sort of documented our lives, because we were long distance. There was her side of the story. She was actually in Melbourne, not Auckland. Then there was my side of the story. So we each documented our lives in this sort of open relationship, polyamorous lifestyle.
And she was very much like a driver in the film. She really wanted to do it, didn't she?
Yeah, I should clarify.
It was very much a mutual 50-50 project.
Yeah, so we both started it together, I guess, with one of the core ideas was to, because we were so enamored by this thing that we thought we discovered, and just amazed that no one else was doing it. So we wanted to show people that there was an alternative, and so it began as a project to be able to document how well it can work and how great it is. And obviously that changed when things happened, as you saw in the film. Within 6 months, it devolved quite quickly, where I began a very close relationship with the camera, and she fell deeply in love with Tom. And so we both had our distractions and didn't talk to each other enough. Anyway, yeah, not to get too therapeutic, but that's then the breakup happened, and then Natalie came on the scene through a casting call, first as actress and then as writer.
So this project has a twist ending, which everybody, all our members will know, because they will have watched this by the time they see this Q&A, and that Natalie is not your actual fiance, Zoe. You play Zoe, and you got picked by Ollie in a casting process. Did you know the extent of the project when you went into the audition process?
I can't remember. I think so, definitely. I knew the concept, obviously, and I thought that was brilliant. And I knew that there would be obviously a bit of nudity and stuff. So I did. I mean, I didn't quite know the full extent of how rogue we'd go and how our relationship and friendship would develop, and how. But obviously, of course, I didn't. It's a documentary, so yeah. But I felt very prepared through the documents that were sent out for the casting call.
Well, let's talk about that then. When you talk about going rogue, what does that mean for the two of you? Did you sort of go down a path you didn't plan to before?
Well, we could talk about the scriptment, right?
Yeah.
The process of that.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Start there.
Okay. Well, obviously we had documentary footage, my side of the story, that we, Natalie and I, watched through.
You hadn't watched it in
I hadn't watched it in a year.
Long time.
Yeah.
So we watched It
Yeah,
was a deeply painful thing for Ollie. So that was like the sort of.
and then, yeah, based on us watching that,
Mhm.
we would write down the story beats of how the relationship unfolded and devolved, and write a scriptment. So I'm not sure how many audience members know what that is. It's not quite a script, not quite a treatment. It has some key dialogue lines in it, but otherwise more scene descriptions. And it was quite packed. Like we had way more scenes. We shot way more scenes than needed, in part because we wanted it to feel like a documentary and to find some of the story threads in the edit, and do a bit of reshooting so after the main story story block. And yeah, so based on that, we would go into the scene. Not sure how many scenes we did per day, maybe 5, and we knew roughly where it started, where it ended, and if there was a key line, we knew that. But otherwise, we were pretty free to improvise. And Natalie, with her background in improvisational theater and comedy, really took the lead and introduced me to that world, because I'm not a trained actor. I kind of had to play myself, and that was okay. But it was a bit of a trial and error process in learning that in improvisation you say yes and, because
Yes,
my
and.
instinct was always no.
And also, because you had this, I discovered the same thing. We're digressing. I discovered the same thing that his ex did, that I watched in footage about him vacating completely because he's got the camera. That is it. And so I really was like, whoa, I can see on a way smaller level, obviously, because I'm not engaged to him. And yeah, so I said to him, because there was also scripted like a kind of sea line after the reveal, that there was a lot more behind the scenes stuff with me and Ollie. And so that was also a really interesting thing, but that mostly got culled. It was interesting, actually. So that's kind of, we had all those scenes that were also like, we didn't know what we were making. So we were making a documentary through line that was also about us, which is now backgrounded.
Like the ending, for example, is that's a good example. We were in St. Bethan's, you know, that lake area, and it was Natalie's idea to.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Wait. It was Natalie's idea. I'm not sure even how you came up with it, but we were in that sort of landscape, and you were like, I've got an
Well,
idea
you
for an
kept
ending.
having this, there was that line he says, I think, to Mother, that you were talking about this idea that he fell. And then his first response was to look around, see if anyone saw him. And how he thought that. And then, so anyway, this became a kind of key idea in the, and so we were on this hill, which you see, and I was like, let's film that. He loves a good metaphor as well. And I was like, this one's not on the nose too bad. And then, but he couldn't, all of that footage where he's trying to fall over, it is not acted. It's,
well, I'm trying to act.
I know, yeah. Like, so it's not like I'm pretending to be really crap at falling. This is why I tackle him at one point. So
actually, something that you said brings up another question. That's a really interesting point that you said about him realizing that when he fell, he looked around to see if anybody was looking. And that makes me think of this film and getting to the point where you're actually breaking up with your fiance because she's getting together with another man that she met. Did you feel at that point that you were going to stop the film? Did you stop the film project for a while at the point of your breakup? And how long did it take to formulate that you were going to continue?
That's a good question. So at that point, as I said before, we've been filming for 6 months pretty solidly. She sort of, I guess, filmed a bit less than me, and I got more and more invested in the film. It was partly therapeutic. You know, I'd talk to the camera about what was happening. And I was quite in the deep end and not thinking super rationally about what I should and shouldn't do. So I don't know, I ended up filming, you know, we weren't in the same place. So I was just filming everything I did leading up to the breakup, and even filming the breakup. So the breakup you saw was the real breakup. Yeah, and got a bit, you know, like it's rewatching the footage afterwards, it wasn't a surprise as to why she left me. When in that moment I was quite shocked. But
yeah, because how much was there? Because when we watched it, there was really only what I was shown. You didn't film past like and broken up, like I'd imagine a couple of weeks passed
Yeah,
from
2
what I
weeks.
saw.
Yeah.
And did you then stop?
I
Or?
did stop. Yeah.
Right. For how long?
Pretty much till the casting. Like,
But what made you decide, no, I'm going to continue this and get
oh,
Alex
right.
Reed on board?
Yeah.
And
Yep.
Alex Reed is our
The producer.
and
One
she
of the
also
producers.
contributed a lot to the story process.
So it's Alex Bees and Alex Reed as producers, and Alex Reed did some of the story with us. Yeah, I think it was a couple of weeks, partially because of my background in making films that, you know, as I said before, blur the lines a bit between documentary and fiction. I realized, what if we cast an actress to finish the film with? As I mentioned, my ex had a camera on her side, so there was always her half.
But she stopped filming. She didn't do
She
anything
stopped
after
filming.
the
Yeah.
breakup. Yeah.
But obviously we couldn't use that. But we could use my half of the footage. So
did she know you were filming when she broke up with you?
Yes. No.
That's not a moral question. No one cares.
No, she did not. But obviously she found it afterwards,
Yeah,
and we
and
got her permission to use it. But
He's so sort of worried and sensitive about, you know, the idea of exploitation, and it's a really interesting question, and it's something that obviously has been a back and forth with Ollie and our producers, particularly Alex, female Alex. She's been very protective of Ollie's ex, and it's been very really tenderly and carefully and respectfully a toing and froing of the discussion as to, because she's a writer as well, a beautiful poet, so that she's interested in it as well. And yeah, and obviously full consent was given.
Yeah, I mean, straight after the breakup, there was also a time where, you know, and this was quite hard to do, but, you know, the breakup happened and I reached out saying, what if we complete this film together?
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I tried. But she wasn't interested in that, which is fair enough. Like, she, I think, was embarrassed more about how naive we were going into it. And that's a big part why she didn't really want to.
So that brings up the question, has she seen the finished film, and how does she feel that it's going to be on such a big platform as HBO Max?
Yeah, so she was informed and involved every step of the process, has seen the final film. Actually, she's also seen a cut before this final cut back last year. And because initially, while she always gave the blessing for me or us to make the film, she wasn't in the film, so her voice wasn't in it originally. So last year, we talked quite a few times about what the ending could be with a bit of her in it, and I explained to her why it would mean a lot to me to have a bit of her in it, because you know, we started this project together, and as I say in the film, apart from being a friend, lover, fiance, she was my favorite collaborator, so it meant a lot to me. There was a little bit of her in it, and yeah, she agreed, and that's what you saw.
I'm wondering, you know, my reaction to this is that it's very difficult. While I'm fascinated by polyamory, it's difficult for me to watch projects like this, because so many feelings of my own, from my own experiences, you know, so many feelings of jealousy and so many feelings of abandonment come up for me. I'm just wondering what reactions you've had from other people that have seen it. Do those feelings come up for other people as well?
I can say my dear friend Bryony, she watched it, and it was just, she actually did say the word abandonment, and she was really sort of saying, although it's not something I do, there was so much for me to relate in there with, you know, those sorts of relationship things, those standard honesty and all those kinds of things, and how you lose intimacy when you,
I mean, that was important to us, that it wasn't just, well, obviously it's the hook that it's about open relationships and polyamory. It had to be more than that to sustain its runtime and be interesting to me. So while, you know, on the package it says it's about an open relationship and polyamory, it's really a look at a relationship and how it can work, or did work and shouldn't work. You know,
it's a look at a relationship as well, but also it. there was a lot of worry from the film commission, which I just want to touch on #MeToo kind of stuff, and also the point of the story. So if I forget where I'm going, it's that and that place. That they were really wanting my voice as a female, and which is where that kind of that sideline storyline came from. And I was like, never really that sure that it was that interesting, but then but it was also Ollie worrying that it was, you know, just self-masturbatory in terms of his, you know, putting himself out there. And I was always very big on the fact that, yes, this is about a relationship. Yes, this is interesting, this relationship. But the core thing here is it's not for me, it was never indulgent. And I reassured you a lot all the time, I think, because it was really like, it was a human and soul searching. I hope that's what came across from, and Ollie's so vulnerable and it's so painful and brave what he's been through, that, and because, you know, there's a lot of sort of like, no one wants to hear from a white cis male, but I just was very much like, no, own this, like it's your time, this is the crux of the story for me. Yeah.
You two seem to have a relationship, an interesting relationship. There's a scene included at the end where you're talking about some of your behind the scenes is included in the end, and there's a scene where the two of you are watching the footage of he and his fiance, and you say something about, oh, you really were a jerk to her.
Yeah, no wonder she left you, I think I said.
I'm just wondering, you know, how you got to that place of honesty with each other.
It's just our natural
day one,
it's our
Natalie.
natural disposition. I am pathologically unable to lie, to the detriment of a lot of relationships. It also, I just, so which I think was great for Ollie as well, because I am very honest and robust and clear about what I do or don't want to do and what I think. And so it was very expedient in that respect, and you respond well to it, though there was a couple of moments where I was like saying something just I couldn't fathom. Oh, it was the bondage thing. the thing that I was like, I don't understand it. The nipples aren't even in the bondage harness that he's wearing. The nipples aren't even in the triangle. I don't get it. It's horrific. I'm disgusted by it. And like just bleh. And Ollie came up to me, bless him, which is so great that our relationship's like this. He said, I'm very stressed and I'm self-conscious, and I need you not to talk about how this is disgusting you. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I had no idea. Thank you so much for telling me. So it's a natural.
I mean, Germans are quite blunt. So I grew up around a lot of blunt people, and I'm fine with it most of the time, unless it's about my nipples in the harness on a stressful day.
In the end, Ollie, did you sort of, I think you say at one point in the film, you should have known that you're not the type of person to be in a polyamorous relationship successfully. Do you still feel that way, or do you feel that it's just that your fiance wasn't the right person for you to be in a polyamorous relationship with?
It's a great question.
Yeah, very good. I'm definitely not the right person to be in a polyamorous relationship. And I know, I guess I should make clear as well, like, we're not trying to paint polyamory in a bad light. No. We went into it trying to show, you know, a documentary as to how polyamory can work. And if anything, hopefully one of the things that it still is a documentary about what not to do in an open relationship, in a polyamorous relationship.
Long distance was really dumb.
Long distance on top of everything was really dumb.
What do you
Putting
think
a camera between us was really dumb. Obviously, a lot of lessons learned as in the film, but at the core of it, I definitely have too many insecurities and get too jealous to be polyamorous. Parts of open relationship, I haven't tried it again, but I think maybe, I don't know, but also be careful. I know that I would have to be careful, because that's how we start, and it's sort of a slippery slope. You get quite drunk with the attention and the excitement of it all, and it can lead to more. And I think, like, I wonder about this a lot, and how far you know, if we weren't polyamorous, would we still be together? And I think one of the good things about this experience was that it really it was like a what's the name like a time lapse of 5-10 years of a relationship, the ups and downs, the arguments. It brought it all up in the 6 months where we did it, or the last 6 months of when we did it. It was intense, but I'm grateful because I think ultimately we weren't as good a match as I thought while I was in the relationship. So looking back at it, I think it was all for the best.
What about you, Natalie? How do you think that the experience of being in this film has shaped your ideas about relationships and about whether polyamory could work for the right people?
Oh goodness. I don't know where to begin that question.
Well, it can work for some people, right?
I don't know, I guess so, yeah.
But it's a small sub. Oh, sorry.
Factually, is it a small percentage?
Yeah,
my experience of it, like, I don't really know. I guess it can work. I wouldn't be able to do it mostly because I can't be fucked. I have a very low sex drive from antidepressants. So so yeah, mostly from my personal experience, it was just like, oh, that's exhausting. But yeah, so I can't really like actually comment on.
Well, Natalie was never interested.
No,
I think, and that was one of the most challenging aspects for you as an actress in the film, was getting into the mindset of someone who is really into it.
Oh yeah, having to be a hedonist and
it.
excited about it and all that kind of stuff, because my natural disposition is quite, you know.
You did pull that off.
So I had to be aware of smiling, and because Ollie was sort of disappeared behind the camera a little bit, and he isn't an actor, I make sure I initiated every kissing and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, no, that was the bit of acting that I had to do. Was
yeah, polyamory is hard. I don't know how the people that do it successfully do it. I just think you need to enjoy talking, and you need to have a lot of time.
But you guys, you guys are, apart from the stupidness of long distance, like you guys would have worked. Like your communication was.
It was good at the start, but
it's interesting that you say, because I've never actually heard a statistic on it, that it's a pretty low statistic as to who does make it work successfully. Is it a low statistic of people that actually even try it, or a low statistic?
I would lie if I knew exact numbers, but I just remember Dan Savage saying something along the lines of, I've been to many celebrations of the start of a polyamorous relationship, but I've been to hardly any 2-year, 3-year anniversaries.
Yeah.
There's just so many variables involved. God, yeah.
That's also interesting to me too, that you bring up Dan Savage, because I was wondering if there were any sort of outside influences that on you and your fiance that shaped how you were going to structure your relationship. Did you use any texts on polyamory to shape your rules?
Yeah, I mean, the gateway drug, so to speak, was Sex at Dawn, which I think is the same for a lot of people.
Maybe read that, yeah.
Coming across that book, and I didn't even finish it, but it was a sex. So
you
excited.
Finished it. You made me finish it.
I was really excited by it, and I gave it to my ex-fiance to read, and we were like, "Yeah, can work, science," and it was quite interesting. That was the start, and then after the breakup, I read Helen Fisher's Anatomy of Love, which in a lot of ways the polar opposite of that book. It's very, you could argue it's a reductionist because it's all in biological, evolutionary terms, sex drive, relationship, pairing, rearing of children. So it brings it all down to science, where I guess Sex at Dawn is more looking at cultures from memory. Anyway, and Sex at Dawn even mentioned, I figured out later, Helen Fisher's book. So they were kind of antagonistic, and I definitely started in the corner of Sex at Dawn. And by the end, I was all in the Helen Fisher fan club. So that was probably the only thing. And we did really have a monogamous manifesto that we set up for ourselves. It was quite specific, tailored for us, and had loopholes that we exploited, obviously. But otherwise, we didn't have a and we maybe should have had a polyamorous open relationship community where we were, or as I mentioned, none of our friends were doing it. So we were.
Oh, so you didn't have like a support group or anybody to talk to about your issues?
No, everyone we talked to about it, like you see in the film with Wilbur, was just like, you guys are crazy, you idiots. And a lot of my friends probably also got sick of me talking about sex and hooking up all the time, because we were just so excited by it, and just wanted to tell other people to do it, and spread the love, literally. But yeah, I got out of that eventually. Yeah.
I think you guys froze for a second. Are you still there?
Do.
Yeah,
Hello.
you're back now.
Yeah, hello.
There you are. So, well, thank you so much for coming to talk about this film. It was so fascinating, and I had so many feelings about it. Yeah, it caught me in my feelings, as they say. And I think it's a really great project, and I'm glad you finished, Ali, and I'm glad you joined him to help him finish, Natalie.
Thanks, Jen.
Your questions have been great.
What?
I said, oh, thanks for your questions. They've been great.
Oh, thank you so much.
Into the quick.
So this premieres Thursday, February 11th on HBO Max. It's going to be
Correct.
streaming on HBO Max. And congratulations to you.
Thank you. Thanks for watching and opening up.
Yeah.
And yeah, making this a joyous early morning in New Zealand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
7 a.m.
Great.
Raining today. It's shitty, isn't it?
Oh, that's all right. Maybe I.
Take care, everybody.
Thanks, Jen.
Take care,
best.
Flick. Give Flick my regards.
There you go.
Flick. Oh, yeah.
Look, she's right there. Little snooze.
Bye, Flick.
Bye. Bye.